Thank you. Ryan, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on running unopposed. I hear that is an awesome way to do it. But I want to give my thanks and tell you all what an honor it is to be in front of the Republican National Committee, especially my two Texas leaders here, Dr. Robin, Tony Ann. Thank you for the work that you all have done. And the chairman of one of the most successful states in the nation, Steve Ministeri. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you greetings from Texas. The state, as Ryan shared with you, I have been very proud to serve for the last 14 years, and that I will serve as the governor of for the next 4 days. This is my last public speech, so I have a few things to say. First among them is thank you for giving us a Republican majority in both houses of Congress. Well done. 2014 was a great year, and in 2016 we will finish the job. I know this will surprise you, but I've been thinking a lot about 2016. And I doubt very much, after 6 years of disappointment, mediocrity, decline, a slow course of correction is what we're going to see in this country. The country is nowhere near what it is capable of achieving, especially when it comes to the economy. We have the potential to create jobs at a far higher level than what we're seeing today. And I know this because the people of Texas have been doing it. In Texas, we respect the private sector. We respect private enterprise. We respect work, which means government shouldn't tax wages too much or tax companies so much that they quit hiring. And finally, we've learned to respect the fact of economic life, including this fact that capital moves where it is welcome. By limiting the size and the scope of government, we have created unlimited opportunity. That's why nearly 1/3 of all the private sector new jobs created in America since I have been in government has been in the Lone Star State. 1/3 of all the jobs. Mayor, if you just look at the last 7 years since December of 2007, you will see that 1.4 million jobs were created in Texas. And at the same time, during that time period, this country lost 400,000 jobs. And our formula for success is simple. You keep the taxes low, you implement smart regulations, you have educated workforce, and you stop frivolous lawsuits at the courthouses. That is the formula. It is simple. If you'd been in Texas, or any of you that's ever been there, you know we think we're pretty unique. Because we tend to tell you that. But what's happening in Texas is not a miracle, because miracles cannot be explained. This can. What has happened in Texas can be explained. It can happen anywhere in America. It can even happen in California. It can. Swear. This mayor is going to show it and make it so. You know, over the last 6 years, America has experienced slow growth. They've experienced stagnant wages. They've experienced scarce jobs, an expansion of entitlements. They've seen this narrowing of possibilities for the working people of this country. And does anyone really believe that this is the best that the United States can do? Don't we have an obligation to aim higher, to make sure that our children have lives that are better than the ones that we've had? And I don't think there's any area in our country's policies that shows this any more so than in energy policy. When people, the people in charge today, when those people think about energy policy, I will suggest to you they think about controls, they think about restrictions, they think about more studies, they think about more delays. They have these timetables and barriers put in place that only bureaucrats can come up with. 6 years of study on the Keystone Pipeline, and still nothing happens. We got dozens of liquefied natural gas facilities that are waiting to be permitted. While Vladimir Putin was invading Ukraine, the president, he dithered when he could have sent a very powerful message to the Russian president. We will flood the economy of Europe with LNG, and we will stand with our European allies. He could have sent that message. I happen to think the whole Obama energy policy amounts to this long list of projects that we cannot begin, permits that we cannot grant, studies that we cannot conclude, and resources that we cannot use. But with the right leadership, we can begin to unleash the arsenal of American energy, which will create jobs, which will enhance our security, and one day end the dependence on foreign oil from countries that do not care for us. For years, our leaders have been lurching from one crisis to another. Take the crisis at the border, Steve. It's a crisis of the president's own making. This summer, he was on this very important mission in Dallas, you'll recall, raising money for needy Democrats. So I invited him to come on down to the Rio Grande so that he could see the results of his policies that had brought tens of thousands of unaccompanied minors to the border of Texas. But he turned me down. He said he didn't do photo ops, which was a real surprise for that large gaggle of photographers that travel with him. But the situation at the border is not all the president's fault. The fact is, Congress should have acted many years ago. But the answer isn't an executive order to bypass Congress. The answer is to work with Congress to secure the border. That is the answer. And since Washington refuses to secure the border, I took action and I sent the Texas National Guard to do that job. Now, this issue goes beyond young children who show up at our border. It has to do with drug cartels and transnational gangs who exploit children, who enslave women, who peddle drugs and weapons into our communities. They are the face of evil. And I have said strongly and loudly that if Washington will not address the criminal activity and secure the border, Texas will. My Constitution says that border security is a federal responsibility. And common sense indicates that when a deadly disease like Ebola comes into the borders of this country, Washington should take the lead on safeguarding our health. I got to thinking about it. Maybe the president just wanted to give me a head start on doing federal duties. You think? But the fact is, somebody needs to lead in Washington, D.C. In the last year, we've witnessed our government deny health care to our heroes, target our citizens using our IRS laws, bungle the website for the president's greatest initiative from his position, trade 5 terrorists for a soldier who disappeared under questionable circumstances, and leave the front door of the White House open where a crazy man could run in. That's what we've seen. We are experiencing a crisis of competence in Washington, and the people know it. And nothing illustrates this more than our failed foreign policy. In 2008, the president, he basked in the praise of these large European crowds that came out to hear him speak. Well, fast forward with me about 7 years. Leaders of the Western world gathered in the streets of Paris, and our president was nowhere to be found. When leaders of the world gather to stand against terrorism, the President of the United States needs to be there, and he needs to be standing on the front row. Time and time again, this administration has chosen to abandon our friends and weaken our alliances. Take Israel. When peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians fell apart, did we stand with our greatest ally in the Middle East? No. There were unnamed administration sources who quoted attacking the Israeli prime minister. And the Secretary of State compared Israel to the apartheid regime of South Africa. That is not the America that I know. The America I know stands for freedom, and she stands steadfast with Israel. Then we get to Iraq and Syria. For more than 8 years, we have sacrificed. We've sacrificed our blood, our treasure, in places called Tikrit, Fallujah, Baghdad. We lost some of our best and our brightest in a very difficult war that continues to have consequences in the form of lives that are broken in battle. But the fact remains, following the surge, we had won the fighting. We only needed to win the peace. But this president's withdrawal, against the advice of one of his secretaries of defense, left Iraq vulnerable to a terrorist resurgence. And last year, we saw that threat gather strength in the form of ISIS. We saw ISIS terrorists in American tanks using American weaponry, taking cities secured through the sacrifice of American blood. And this happened because the president's inaction in Syria. He allowed opposition forces of Assad to become radicalized. They grew in strength and number, and eventually they crossed over into Iraq. And separately, he warned the Syrian dictator that using chemical weapons on his people was a red line that he could not cross. And Assad crossed that line without consequence, meaning a dictator remains in power due to this administration's empty words. When a president makes promises that he won't back up, the statements are not policy. They're just opinion. And the world take notes. They realize that they can test our government. They can test our resolve and our strength. You know, and in the Islamic State and all that goes with it, we're dealing with a particular breed of fanaticism that leaves us with few options. And these brutal terrorists, they don't respect talk. They only respect power and force. What is at stake is the preservation of Western values. And that is required. What's required is not moral confusion, but moral clarity. It matters that we understand all of this for one reason, because without the confidence in the truth and the goodness of our values, the great moral inheritance of our culture, how are we going to deal with the falsehood of theirs? And this isn't just some rhetorical question. We witnessed in Paris once again the brutality of this enemy. What is needed in this time and place in history is a clear vision for the world. With America leading again and freedom to be on the march again, what is on the ballot in 2016 is a choice. Whether we're going to see the rise to the challenge of defending the Western values in the Western world, or are we going to accept the decline of Western civilization because those who had the most to lose did the least to preserve freedom? On the most pressing issues of our time, from jobs to energy to national security, we don't have to settle for the present state of decline. We can usher in a new era of growth and strength and opportunity. We don't have to settle for the statist policies that produce this massive debt, declining opportunities, in a more dangerous world. We can fight. We can fight for forward-looking solutions that create record growth and unleash our entrepreneurial spirit and reestablish our moral authority at home and abroad. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to be a citizen of a country that stands for freedom and that should defend freedom around the globe. I'm proud that our free enterprise system it allows people to risk their capital, allows them to fail or succeed. And if they fail, allows them to dust themselves up, get up, and try it again. I'm proud of American industry and her innovations. And I'm proud of the young men and women who travel to far-flung places to fight for all that's right in the world. You see, there's nothing wrong in America that can't be fixed with a change in leadership. The next 2 years are about a better and a brighter future and a vision to restore America's place in the world. We must again be the party of ideas, the party of opportunity, the party of vision, not merely the party of opposition. America is looking for a new path forward, and starting today, let's give it to them. God bless you. Thank you all for being here today. God bless this great country of America. Thank you.